Very good evening, children. Welcome back to Akshar online classes. Today, myself, I am your Johnson, biology teacher. Today, our topic is the living organism, characteristics and habitat. The living organisms, characteristics. Characteristics and habitat. Today, this is the topic. Okay, what is the topic? The living organisms, characteristics and habitat. Okay, this is our topic. What is the meaning of living things? So actually, in our surroundings, two types of the things are present. How many types of the things are present? Two types of the things are present. One is the non-living things, and living things. So what is the meaning of non-living things? Non-living things means which of the things do not have the life. Which of the things do not have the life, that are called non-living things. Examples of the non-living things. Okay, pen is the non-living thing. Book is the non-living thing. Okay, pencil is the non-living things. Box is the non-living thing. Table is the non-living thing. Okay, computer is the non-living thing. Computer. Okay, and blackboard is the non-living thing. So if you are saying continuously chair, bulb, computer, pen, book, pencil, water bottle, okay, watch, these are all the non-living things. Here only one is the point is which of the things do not have the life, that is called non-living thing. So which have the things have the life, that is called living things. Okay, can you give the examples of the living things? So which of the things have the life, that is called living things. Examples of the living things: plants, comma, animals, comma, human beings. So these are the examples of the living things. Okay, plants, animals and human being is the examples of the living things. Okay, now going to that. So characteristic features of the living things. Characteristic features of the living things. Characteristic features of the living things. So what is the characteristic features of the living things? The characteristic features of the living things. So first one is the characteristic features of the living thing is so all the living organisms required to the food. Okay. So why they required the food? So already we have the characteristic features of the living things. Living things example what we can say, plants, comma, animals, comma, and human beings. What? Human beings. So living things required food. Living things required food. So that means living things need food. Living things need food. Why the living things are need food? Because so if you eat the food, you can get the energy. For example, I am a living thing. So if morning to evening I can do the so many works. Morning to evening we can do the so many things. Okay, so these are that. So why we can do these are the works? Because of the survival. So if you are survive the organism, that organism required to the energy. Okay, all the living things require the food. We eat the carbohydrate, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals like. Plants they are taking to the carbon dioxide, water and salts and minerals. So characteristic features of the living things need food. Living things require food. That is the first point. Okay, non-living things they can require the food. Non-living things not required to the food. There is no life. Okay, there is no required of the food, there is no required of the energy. So that's why only characteristic features of the living things required to the food. These are the required food. So many activities they can do it. Okay, that is the first point. So second point, living things show growth. What is the meaning of the growth? Growth means the permanent change of the organism. The permanent change of the organism is called growth. Okay, for example, when you are born, you are a small baby. Okay, so after that, when you are born, so 1 year, what are the changes? 2 year, what are the changes? 3rd year, what are the changes? You are become small by small, step by step you are growing. Okay, so first class dresses is suitable to the 10th class boy? No. First class dresses is suitable for the 10th class girls? No. Because that is you are grown up child. So that is only, for example, this pen will grow. This pen will grow after 10 years. So we cannot see it. Okay, so for example, first class and second class same height you are present? No. So first class, second class, your body shape, body size and same in size, same in shape. So that means Here what is my point is, living things they can show the growth. Growth means the permanent change of the organism is known as the growth. The characteristic features of the living thing is the growth we can see in the living thing. The plants, actually in the plants, so flower is the sexual part of the flower. That flower is turned into the fruit. Fruit is turned into the seed. Seed gives rise to the new plant, new baby plant. So when that grow, generally that is a small, and every year they can grow little by little, little by little. And here, very important point. When you see the plants and animals, plants, okay, and animals, okay, plants and animals, okay, in these plants the growth is the permanent. Growth is the permanent. What is the meaning of the permanent? That means when they are born up to the die, they will continue. Growth is the continuous process, continuation process. Okay, so for example, if you see the animals, that growth is the particular period only we can see it. Generally when you are born, up to that 18 years to 21 years, 18 years to the 21 years, generally we can see in the growth in the animals. But in the plant, that growth is the permanent. Growth is the permanent. That point also you are keep in your mind. Okay. Next, before going to that, so what are the differences between the plants and animals? So plants and animals. So animals. So general differences you can say animals. Okay. So in the plant, generally in the plant, cell wall is present. Cell wall is present. So that means if you see the plant cell, that outermost layer is known as the cell wall. Okay. In that animal cell wall is absent. Cell wall is absent. Okay. This is the first characteristic features of the plants and animals. Next, second point. In the plant cell, plants, okay, they can prepare their own food. They can prepare their own food. They can prepare their own food. Okay. So that means, especially we can say that all the green plants are known as the autotrophic nutrition. They can show the autotrophic nutrition. But if you see the animals, okay, in the animals, they cannot prepare their own food. They cannot prepare their own food. So that's why animals are called heterotrophic nutrition. Next, this is the second point. This is the second point. Cell wall is present in the plant, cell wall is absent in the plant. Plants, they can prepare their own food, animals, they cannot prepare their own food. All the plants are the autotrophic nutrition, all the animals are the heterotrophic nutrition. And you can see that, okay, in the plants, generally growth is permanent. Growth is permanent. So if you see the animals, okay, growth we can see only certain period only. Okay, so that means if you see the animals only 0 to 21 years only we can see the growth. After that we cannot see in the growth in that animals. Next, plants. Next, animals. Okay. So if you see the plants, fourth point, plants, okay, reproduce, okay, reproduce with vegetative reproduction and asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Okay, if you see the animals, okay, reproduce, okay, with only asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction Okay, so here what is the meaning of vegetative reproduction? Vegetative parts of the plant, generally you know very well, root, okay, stem, leaves are called vegetative parts of the plant. These are the vegetative parts give rise to the new plant, that is called vegetative reproduction. This vegetative reproduction we cannot see in that, especially in that animals. Next, what is the asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is both the cases is the same. Okay, there is no fusion of the gamete, there is no fertilization. Okay, so which of the organism they can reproduce unfavorable condition, that is the common for the sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction in the plants and animals. What about the sexual reproduction? In the sexual part of the plant is the flower. Okay, that flower turned into the fruit, that fruit is turned into the seed give rise to the new plant, in that sexual reproduction especially, so fusion of the male gamete and female gamete takes place, give rise to the. Here, two types of the reproduction in the sexual reproduction. One is the oviparous. Second one is the viviparous. Oviparous means which of the organism they can lay the eggs and giving to the birth to the new young ones. That is called hen, duck, sparrow. These are all. Viviparous means which of the organism they are directly giving to the offspring to the mother. That is called human beings, cow. Okay, cow they are giving to the calf, dog they are giving to the puppy. Okay, horse, elephant. These are the viviparous organisms. So this is the characteristic features of the egg, and especially for the differences between the plants and animals. Okay, actually we are discussing about the characteristic features of the living things. So examples of the living things is the plants, animals and human being. So living things required to the food. First point is the living things required to the food, but non-living things they cannot require to the food. If you are see that, okay, so many years that living things look like same in shape, same in size, same in structure, same in function, but non-living, especially in the living things, we can see that different shape, different size, different structure, different function. Here one more point also very important. All the living organisms are made up of cells. All the living organisms are made up of cells. Okay. So plant is made up of cell, animal also made up of cell, human being also made up of cell. There is no cell, there is no living organism. Okay, so that's why, so cell is the fundamental unit of the life. Cell is the basic unit of the living organism. Cell is the structural and functional unit of the living organism. Cell is the building blocks of the living organism. Okay, that point also you can add. First point, living things required food. Second point, living things they can show to the growth. In the growth, especially that plants they can show the growth, animals also they can show to the growth. Okay, but in the plant, growth is the permanent, but in the animal, that growth is the certain period only. Okay, so these are common for everyone. This is the differences between the plants and animals. Next, third point. Okay, living organism, living organisms respire. What is the meaning of the respire? Respire means respiration. Okay. So respiration. What is the meaning of the respiration? We are taking up the oxygen and releasing out, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in. Okay. Breathing out. Breathing in what? We are breathing in the oxygen. Okay. Breathing out is the carbon dioxide. Okay. So breathing in and breathing out is called respiration. Okay. What is the respiratory organ in the human being? Respiratory organ in the human beings is the lungs. Lungs is the respiratory organ in the human being. What is the respiratory organ? Fish. Fish's respiratory organ is the gills. Okay. What is the respiratory organ in the frog? Respiratory organ of the frog is the skin, gills, and lungs. What is the respiratory organ of the reptile? Almost remaining all the organs like reptiles, apes and mammal, that respiratory organ is the lungs. What is the respiratory organ in the insect? Insect, that respiratory organ is the trachea. Okay, what we are breathing? We are breathing the oxygen. What we are breathe out? Carbon dioxide we are breathe out. Okay, so why the respiration is the important life process? What we can eat the food, that food is the joined in the stomach. When we are breathe that oxygen enter into the lungs, in that combine with that hemoglobin, blood, and that blood combine with the food, that then generally in the respiration takes place, energy is released. So that's why respiration is the important life process of the organism, that energy generating system through the respiration. There is no respiration, there is no energy. Okay, there is no respiration, there is no energy. So that's why here my point is, respiration is the important life process, because energy generating system is the respiration. Respiration takes place in the plants and animal. Respiratory organ in the human beings is the lungs. The structural and functional unit of the respiratory system is called alveoli. In the alveoli, gases exchanges takes place in the alveoli. Okay. Now coming to the plants. Plants also they can respire, no? Yes. Plants also respire. You know very well. 6 CO2, okay, plus 12 H2O, use rise, sunlight, okay, chlorophyll, C6 H12 O6 plus 6 H2O plus 6 volt. This is the equation for the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis process is the important life process, because food is prepared in the photosynthesis mechanism. Okay, so plants, so food making process is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis mechanism, that green plants absorb to the carbon dioxide and they can prepare to their own food, and they are releasing to the oxygen. That gases exchanges takes place. That means we are taking to the, breathing in is the oxygen and breathing out is the carbon dioxide. But in the plant, that breathing in is the carbon dioxide and breathing out is the oxygen. When it is, how they are respired, especially you know very well. This is called okay. Stomatal food. Okay. This is called guard cells. This is called subsidiary cells. Okay, especially very important point is gases exchanges. That means plants absorb to the carbon dioxide and release it to the oxygen through the stomata. Okay, here my point is gases exchanges takes place in the plant is the stomata. In that animal, that gases exchanges takes place in the alveoli. The structural functional unit of the respiratory system is the alveoli. The main important of the respiratory organ is the lungs. Okay, lungs purify the blood, oxygenated the blood, and so actually in that plants also that gases exchanges takes place in the stomata. Okay, next. One more equation I am writing. So C6H12O6. This is called glucose. When this glucose is oxidized, they are taking to the oxygen, they are releasing to the 6CO2 plus 12H2O plus 686 kilocalories of the energy. So that means when that we are taking in that plants, especially in the plant, respiration takes place, they are releasing to the carbon dioxide gas. Okay, so food is that glucose is oxidized, then they are releasing to the carbon dioxide. Morning time in the plant, photosynthesis mechanism takes place. Okay, but in the night, so in the plants respiration takes place. So that's why when the respiration takes place, they are released to the carbon dioxide gas. So that's why don't sleep near the trees in the night time. Are you understand? They are releasing to the carbon dioxide gas. That carbon dioxide gas is not essential for the respiration in the human being. Okay, next one. So do all the living organisms respond to the stimuli? Next, fourth point is over. Okay, what is the third point? Living organisms respond. Next, fourth point. So all living organisms respond to the stimuli. Okay, respond to the stimuli. What is the meaning of the respond to the all the living organisms respond to the stimuli? So that means you know very well sunflower plant. Okay, turn to the sunlight. For example, if I am shouting in the classroom, all the people in this they can silence. That is also a response to the stimuli. If I am loudly calling, they are coming to near to me. Okay, so always you know very well, especially in the plant spot, they can respond to the sunlight. Okay, so that is the characteristic features of the living organism. But if I am loud and take care of the non-living things, they can respond to the stimuli? They can't. They can't. So that means especially in the plants, most of the parts, they can respond to the sunlight, they can respond to the air, respond to the water, respond to the gravity, respond to that gravitational force, so that means that plants are respond to the stimuli. Okay, for example, any bright light is focused on your face, automatically we are closed to your eyes, that is the response to the stimuli. If anybody shouting, we can keep quiet. Okay, so these are the characteristic features of the living things. That means, so living things, they can show to the respond to the stimuli. Okay, non-living things, they cannot respond to the stimuli. So that's why, so reflex actions. What are the suddenly automatic actions that takes place in the human being? That is called reflex action. These reflex actions also save the organism. This is the characteristic features of the living things like plants and animals. Okay, next character. Fifth one. So next fifth one, all the living organisms, they can show the excretion. So this is the characteristic features of the living things. So that means when the metabolic activities are occur in our human body, in the plant, that waste material is also formed in that organism. That waste material is, if continue, they can store it. That is to become a poisonous. So that means here, what is my point? So that plants and animal, they can show to that waste material sent outside of the body of the organism. So especially in our human body, okay, when we can eat the food, when we drink the water, okay, so these are the digestive system, they can, what are the required to that body of the organism, that utilized. If the excess amount of that material, they can send it to that urine or facial matter. So here only living organism, they can show to the excretion. Non-living organism, they cannot show to the excretion. This is the characteristic features of the living things. So that means, if you see the plants, what are the excretory products? So if you see the gums is the excretory product, resins is the excretory product, and oxygen is the excretory product. Okay, rubber is the excretory product. So that means that plants, they can show to the excretory system. That is the characteristic features of the living things. That is the characteristic. If you see the animals, what are the excretory product? In that excretory product, nothing but urea, carbon dioxide. So these are the excretory product. If you are present, these are the excretory product inside the body of the organism, that is to become a poisonous. So that's why these are the excretory product, they can send outside of the body of the organism. Okay, so now we will stop. Okay, so next class we will discuss next character. Once what we have discussed, once we will go living organisms, characteristic and habitat. Okay, so in our surrounding two types of the things are present. One is the non-living thing and one is the living thing. Non-living things, example, pen, book, pencil, box, table, computer, and living things, example plants, animals and human being, and characteristic features of the living things. So examples of the living things is the plants, animals and human beings. All the living organisms are made up of cells. Cell is the fundamental unit of the organism. Cell is the basic unit of the organism. Cell is the structural and functional unit of the organism. Cell is the building blocks of the organism. All the living organisms required to the food. That means plants taking to the food, animals also taking to the food. There is no taking of the food, that is known as the non-living things. Living things, the characteristic features of the living thing is taking to the food. Okay, but second point, living things they can shows to the growth. So growth is the characteristic features of the living thing. Growth means the permanent change of the organism we can see in that, that is known as the growth. That growth is the especially permanent in that, especially that growth is the continuous process in the plant, and growth we can see in the animals only certain period we can see it. So this is the difference between the plant cell and animal cell. Cell wall is present. Plants they can autotrophic nutrition. Plants growth is the permanent continuation process. Cell wall is absent in the animal cell. Heterotrophic nutrition. All the animal they can growth they can show the particular period only, certain period only. Next, plants reproduce with the vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Animals reproduce only asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Okay, so living organism they can respire. So breathing in and breathing out is called respiration. We are breathing is the oxygen and breathe out is the carbon dioxide. Respiratory organ is the lungs. In the fishes that respiratory organ is the gills. In that frog that respiratory organ is the skin, gills, lungs, and insect that respiratory organ is the trachea. In that plants they are taking to the carbon dioxide and they can synthesize their own food. So in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, this is the equation for the photosynthesis mechanism. Okay, so they are taking to the carbon dioxide and leaving out the oxygen gas through the stomata. Next, this is the equation for the respiration. Morning time plant they can take that photosynthesis, night time they can respiration take place. So that's why don't sleep in the night time in the plant. All the living organisms respond to the stimuli. Sunflower turned into the sunlight, and branches they can move towards that, especially for the light focus. Okay, so animals that generally bright light is focused closer to the eyes, that is also respond to the stimuli. Okay. Next, that is the characteristic feature. Living organism they can shows to the excretion. Plants they can excrete product, gums, resins, oxygen, rubber. Animals they can excretory product, urea, carbon dioxide, excess amount of the salt and mineral. So this is about today's topic. Okay, so good evening, have a nice day.